everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hackery Garage, where today I will be fabricating a camera stand adapter. I bought a really cool tripod. It's not really cool, it was $1.50, but it does not do anything I need it to yet. So today I'm going to be fabricating an adapter to sit on top of the tripod to then be able to hold my phone, which acts as my camera right at this point, so I can record some stuff for you guys. So stay tuned. So this here is the stand I use to film myself with. Doesn't look like much. It's a connecting rod, some random bolts, some rebar, and a piece of steel. This piece of steel came from a job I worked at. It was scrap they were throwing away, so I took it home to practice with and weld on. That started out as, his feet started out as, they were for a battery clamp for a battery terminal. Obviously his legs are rebar, connecting rod. I want to say these are starter bolts maybe? I'm not entirely sure what those bolts are from, but there they are. And then the arms are from an LS. These are torque converter bolts off of a 5.3 that I had from a long ass time ago that I never even put in anything. And then just a small block Chevy connecting rod. I've had him laying around my house for a long time. I use him to hold my phone. But today, he's going to get a stand so that he can sit onto a tripod that I bought. So, if there's anything to know about me, it's that I like to keep scrap steel. I keep scraps of all sorts of sizes and shapes and various thicknesses for various uses. This is one of those reasons why. This is going to be the base for the tripod stand. I'm going to take this, cut it down to size, probably right about, yeah, it looks good, probably right about there. Slice it there. I'm going to weld a couple bolts into place to it so that they will then fit into those three holes there. 1, 2, and 3. So as we can see, I got the line drawn. We do things real scientific around these parts. We pop the part on there. We slide it over to that edge over there. Looks good enough to me. What about that? Looks good. We'll rip it there and we'll go from there. So I got the part clamped into my vise, and I go to grab my grinder, and I realize there's a flap disc on there. So I figured this would be a pretty cool idea, a tip for you, for some real cheap hackery. Right here is just a drywall screw. It's not even into a stud. It's literally just a drywall screw that holds what's left of a flap disc, a grinding wheel, and a cutoff wheel. That's all it does. Its sole purpose is to just hold those things there. Because when I'm working here on this project, it saves me time to walk all the way over to the black cart there to go get another one of whatever I need. Whether it's a cutoff wheel, a grinding wheel, or a flap disc. All I have to do is stand right here, grab my grinder. I've got the grinder tool here. Surprisingly, it's actually here. I grab my tool, my blade, or whatever I need, put it on, take the other one, and hang it back up. Yes, despite the mess, there is actually a little bit of know-how and a little bit of organization. And just like that, we have a desk wheel. And just like that, the flap disc is put away because there is some organization to this hackery. Got safety glasses on. We're good to go. Oh no! Helps to plug it in. Now then, do I leave that in as a blooper, or do I retake it? You tell me. party foul. It's officially been cut. So I got the part cut, got it out of the vise. It's good enough for who it's for. So got a little burr on here, this little stuff right here. And some people like to take a vise to it. Some people actually change the flap disc or the cutoff wheel for a flap disc or a grinding wheel. Some people just take it off by hand like that. But because I'm going to actually be using this, and I'm going to be around various locations and whatnot, I don't want to have to deal with having sharp edges. I'm actually going to put a cutoff or a grinding wheel on this and round these edges off so it's not sharp and I don't cut the shit of myself, or if I have to put this in a bag of some sort, it doesn't get all cutting up the bag and tearing shit up. Once again, flap disc is back on, cutoff wheel is back on the peg. Always keep it organized. If you keep your shit organized and don't make your workbench look like this, make your life much easier. And now, smooth as a baby's ass. In fact, I would let my own baby play with this, assuming I had one. My kids are teenagers now. They can kind of do whatever the fuck they want. In fact, my son's out here helping me half the time, so I would definitely let him handle this. In fact, I would let him handle cutting this and grinding the edges smooth. But he's not awake right now, so I'll do this on my own. But there it sits. That's ready to go. Next step, I will be taking this guy, finding the center point. Yeah, it looks good. Marking some holes so that I know where to weld to. And I'm just going to weld some bolts that'll fit through there. Probably only be about maybe about as deep as that, maybe a little longer. We'll have to see if they'll fit any longer. And if they do, then we'll go with longer. That way it holds it in a little better. So that's the piece that we need to put these screws or the pieces of steel or whatever I'm going to use to go into these holes. I need to make sure that when they come straight down that they're not going to interfere with this or this. Since it looks like that's not going to be a problem, I'm just going to send it. Alright, so the last video I showed you this giant mess of nuts and bolts. It's all over the floor. This is totally saving my ass because I am broke as a joke, but I have screws and I have a lot of them. So I know that I need a bolt to be about this big, but I'd like to save this bolt because this is still a good bolt. It's all thread, and I don't have very many bolts that are all thread this long. So knowing that, I want to save that. So I'm going to put it home. I'm going to make it go home. There it goes. It's home. Now this guy, I hate bolts that have a slotted head. Hate them. This is a good contender. We'll use this guy. How about these ones? They're Phillips, but they're about the right length and the right diameter. So I'm going to set those off to the side, along with that guy. Let's see what other bolts we can find that might work. Looks like those three match. We're going to call that a win. And there are the three screws. Wiggle it around. Nothing falls out. Sticks out far enough that if this tries to get knocked over, it's not going to fall out. I believe that's a win. Now I'll come through here, take a Sharpie, and mark each individual hole so I know where to drill. Got my holes marked. Now it's time to put the screws in place, fire up the welder, and go to town. Going to be welding. Going to be using one of my favorite tools in the world. Harbor Freight Vulcan brand Omnipro 220. Currently it's set up for flux core, and I'm only plugged into 110. I don't have 220 in my garage. So, I'm using that son of a bitch. Big hefty cord. Right now the only thing plugged into that, I have the yellow extension cord with nothing plugged into it. That's the small shop AC. I leave it unplugged when I'm not using it. And that's the bench grinder plug. So right now, the only thing I need to do is set up the welder. So, come on over. I will grab the ground clamp. One of the most genius things I did when I mounted this vise, is I used a really long bolt so that I can clamp to that, and it goes to this mounting bolt, which goes to the vise, which means now whatever I clamp and whatever I weld to in the vise will be then grounded. I'm now good to power on the welder and start welding. So welder's off, go to turn the power switch. We'll power this bad boy up. Let it warm for a second. Ignore the lights flickering in the garage. This garage has terrible power. So to reset it, we're going to go to home, scroll over to flux core, hit power, or hit accept. Verify that's the way it's set up, which it is. Hit connect, or hit select. Gauge thickness. We might bump it up to 16 gauge. I am using 030 wire. Hit select, and your settings are ready to go. Grab the torch, and you're good to weld. One of the other things I love to use drywall screws for, obviously, is hanging things. I need a place to hang the gun when I'm not using it. Works perfect. Works like a champ. Next pro tip. I'm going to be welding these screws into these little spots. If I was using a different kind of screw that didn't stand up, there's a reason I picked these ones, I would need something to hold them with. That is the reason for those vice grips right there. There's some vice grips there, needle nose pliers, and some channel locks, as well as a file and a punch. Those 5 things are always on my workbench, right next to the vise, for the very purpose of what I'm doing right now. If I'm welding and fabricating and I need something, I always keep them here because they're always handy within arm's reach. There we go. By the way, safety third. Now, before I go just welding those sons of bitches up, let's take a second and verify that it's going to fit on the parts. Let me go grab it. Watch me drop it. Kidding. Looks like they're going to fit, so as long as I don't move it and don't fuck it up, I think we're good to go. Back to welding. One more test fit. I think we're good to go. Time to burn them in. For that, I will grab a bitch mitten. Only because I got a new Fitbit and I don't want to fuck it up. Now when I weld, I try to weld in every position I can until I need to move the project, move myself. In a situation like this, I'd rather move the project. So, we'll move the project. Also open the vise up so that I can get a little more room, hold that, Be a little more stable so I can rest my hand on there. So I'm a little more comfortable while welding. And there we have it. True to Hackery garage form, not pretty, but it'll work. Function over form, that's my MO. Y'all should know that. Now, just got done welding that. If I grab that, it'll be really fucking hot. Vice grips. You know the vice grips I keep next to the bench? Now you see why I keep them there. We'll go take this, run it under the faucet of my house. I'll be right back. Hey, look. All nice and wet. You can see it's all shiny and wet. But I can hold it. That's what I'm after. And some people might go, oh, well, it's going to rust. You mean it wasn't rusted already? It's good enough for who it's for. Function over form. Remember. Now a little part here. I think it fits. So let's take this part. This is my tripod. And screw this onto here. Then I'll take my part. Drop it on there like that. Looks good to me. It's a little better up close shot. That is the part onto the tripod. The part that I welded that I'm not even going to bother cleaning up. We're just going to do one of those numbers. And there it sits. Those screws are just long enough to keep it from falling around, or flopping off, falling off. I think we're good to go. Now I can take my dude here, my camera holding dude, and drop a random bolt on the ground. Set my dude on there. And there we go. So, oh shit! That is the first time I've actually used it like this. And it's a little floppy, which is why the camera's moving so much. So, initial design phase, it works. It's doing what I wanted it to, but it's not stable whatsoever. If I had the shop AC on and it pointed in the direction of this tripod here, I'd probably lose my phone. It's very, very top heavy, and I have some more engineering to do. When will I get to that? No idea. Is this project done for today? Yeah, we're done for the day. Never done engineering things. I had an idea. It's not a good one, but it's an idea. Let me show you. So, this flops around because it's just 3 pieces. It's a tripod. Putting too much weight on one side, and it flops around. That's normally not going to be a big deal if what you're putting on is centered. My dude here is not centered. He's very much offset to the back, which is fine if I put him in the front or in the middle, so all of his weight's in the middle. But then once I put my phone here, it moves the weight towards the front, and he wants to move around. My thought is, what if I put it centered like that, to where he's in the middle of his little stand here, but I weld something to hold onto there, onto the back side, so that it supports some weight, or keeps this from falling. And if he sits like that, at an angle, as opposed to flat, I think I could work with that. So I think I might just try that. Or maybe I don't put any more weight on the back side, I put more weight on the front side. And then I put a clamp on here so that he will just slide into place. Maybe even then I could do it like that, where he's in the center. And I could take some angle iron, like, I don't know, this piece of bed frame that I have laying around, and weld it on there like that, or like that, or like that. I don't know. These are different ideas I have. We'll figure it out. Well, while digging around my scrap pile, which is also doubles as my workbench, I found this. This came from one of my bucket seats that I put in the El Camino. And that's actually supposed to be straight. It's supposed to look like that. It's part of a spring mechanism that helps slide the seat forward and back on its own. I didn't want that feature, so I ripped it out. But that little piece of angle right there looks like it'll be the perfect height and length and width of what I'm looking for. So we're going to cut that sumbitch off and we're going to make it fit. So in an effort of making this a little easier on my life, I took the part off of the tripod, opened up the vise jaws big enough for the screws to fit into, and then found this piece. Once again, more scraps. This material is the exact same material as that, same thickness and everything. Don't have to worry about using the man, getting him in the way. I can rest that there. I can then take my piece that I cut, put it on the edge, rest it on there. Problem I have is it doesn't seem like it's going to work very well. I like this width or height, but I don't like that length. At least not on this side. So I'm going to see if we can find another piece of steel. This is what I'm working with, this small little guy here. I like the top, but I don't like the bottom. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to grind the top up here until it's smooth and level. Pretty much where that scratch is, I'm going to go straight across there. And then I'm going to use some of this material where it's nice and straight and weld it on place so that I get a nice longer patch to hold that a little better. I think that's going to work a lot better. Well, it's all welded up. Yes, that's a pair of vice grips clamped into a vise holding the part, because the part was just small enough that if I tried to put it in the vise, it would end up welding the vise as well. So there it is. Once again, it is not pretty. It'll work. So one of the things to think about while welding is the parts do move from time to time. The heat makes the parts move. And sometimes they'll expand, sometimes they'll contract, sometimes they'll do weird, funny things. And in this instance, it did just that. I did not weld it with a piece in there, and that really messed it up. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to put this in the vise and bend it open. Pry it open a little bit so I can get the piece to fly in there, fit in there a little snug. A little better, because right now it's too snug, it doesn't fit. Not forcing it, and I want to make this as easy as possible. Well, as I started prying on it with my big ass pry bar, also known as a flathead screwdriver, started prying on it, and the part that I welded on, I didn't grind a notch into it. I figured it wasn't going to be that critical, but generally when you weld something, you want to have a V-notch of some sort, and it was just butt welded together, nothing else. And as I started prying on it, it started bending on me. The angle itself stayed good, but the part that I welded on did not. So I ended up taking my grinder with a grinding wheel and cut a little groove into it, welded it up, and now I can take my piece and put it in. Doesn't really move too much. Pretty satisfied with that. So I think with that, we're going to try it on the part or on the tripod, see what happens. Doesn't work. Not the way I thought it was going to. So It works. Holds them in place. But it doesn't keep him from moving. In fact, if he falls too easily, he'll fall right out. And doesn't even go in the hole all the way. That's what she said. But it does keep it from falling forward, I guess. Kinda. Sorta. What really needs to happen is I need to put something under the bottom to keep it from keeping it from falling over. Essentially, I need it to stop doing that. Which means I gotta put some wing nuts or something on there. But I guess for now, he's gonna have to work. It's starting to get late. I still have a few 75 hard tasks to take care of for the day. Cannot fail that. And so, I think my wobbly dude is just going to have to be wobbly for the rest of the day. If anything, it sits a little too tall. Currently, the phone is on this dude who's on the thing on the tripod that I bought. It's a little tall, which is a good thing because the tripod's as high as it'll go. I can go lower. That's a good thing. So, that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. Pretty much let you guys know that there's nothing to it, but you just do it. This is all scrap I had laying around in the garage. The only thing I have specialized is the welder. You don't have to get the cool Omnipro 220 from Harbor Freight like I've got. It's easy. They have welders on sale right now, actually. You can get a welder for $100. Go on Marketplace. You can find them for $50. If you need welding lessons, local community college has welding classes. YouTube. Just get yourself a little buzz box. That's all you need. My welder's kind of cool. It does MIG, it does TIG, it does Oxy, it does arc welding, and it does flux core. I currently have the pedal, and I have an argon tank for it, but I don't have a torch. Once I get a torch, then I'm going to start learning how to do TIG welding. That's something I want to learn how to do, and what better place to do it than on a Hackery garage. So go out and do something. It doesn't have to be fun, it should be fun, but it doesn't have to be expensive. Altogether, this project didn't cost me anything except for electricity, which I live in California. That's fucking expensive. But I had fun doing it, and it's a piece of functioning work, functioning art even. I wouldn't call it art, but some weirdo might. So, it ain't got to be pretty, it just has to work. Function over form. Don't forget that. Always.